Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Carolyn, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you all of the palettes that I used in September. I'm going to be sharing them ranking style from worst to best in my opinion, and I'm also going to be showing some looks I did with each palette. So if that sounds interesting to you, then just keep on watching. So if you hear noises in the background, that's my dogs chewing on bones. I need to give them something to keep them occupied because otherwise they're kind of a menace when I'm trying to film videos. So yeah. So in my last video, which was my Shop My Stash for October, I mentioned starting to do like a monthly recap of palette usage with kind of ranking them, but also doing sharing the looks I did as well. And I kind of got this idea from a mixture of a couple of YouTubers. Caitlin House does ranking videos where she ranks all of the palettes that she used that month. She gets a lot of new palettes, but she also uses her old palettes and includes those in the rankings. And then Chic Geek does her Shop My Stash like recap and includes looks that she did with each palette. So yeah, this is kind of a combination of the two types of videos, or their videos that they each do every month when talking about their palettes that they used. I will have them both linked below. In my last video, I'd asked if you would want to see me do a ranking of the palettes that I used in September, even though I only used each palette one time total. And a few of you said that you still wanted to see this ranking regardless of that, so I'm going to be doing that. So definitely take this ranking with a grain of salt since I did only use each palette one time. The reason why I only use each of these once is because they're newer to me, and because I didn't wear makeup that much in September, but I also just kind of used a couple single shadows, Colourpop Super Shock shadows a lot of the time when I was wearing makeup. In future rankings, I will have used them more than once. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get started. 4 of these 6 palettes were sent to me from Misty, so they were new to me, and then 2 of them I recently got from Colourpop. So these are all new to me palettes. So anyway, coming in at number 6 is my Revolution Chilled palette. This is one that was sent to me by Misty. In the look I did, I used this shade, I think this shade, and these browns here. And the mattes were pretty patchy, even the brown ones. They weren't very opaque. I just didn't think the mattes were the best quality. The shimmers were okay, actually. I mean, they are not super impactful, but they're very easy to work with and spreadable shimmers. So I do really like the shimmer formula in this, but the mattes are just really not good. And then I just ignore the pressed glitters. There's 3 in here. But anyway, so this is coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is the Tati Beauty palette. This was another palette that was sent to me by Misty, but it's one I'm actually passing along to somebody who really wants it. It's not one I would declutter if I didn't know somebody who really wanted it. And I think the formula on this is pretty good. Like, everything works really well. It's not a color story that I'm super excited to use. And the reason I wanted to try it, because Misty was decluttering it, and I wanted to try out the glitters and just try this out because this is a really hyped up palette. And I've only tried the She Glam pressed glitter. I've only tried like one other pressed glitter besides this one. And this is better than that one was, but it still got all over my face, even with glitter glue, and in my lashes, and I was too paranoid about them falling into my eye. and it was pain to remove, and I'm just really paranoid about something happening to my eye because, or my eyes, because I like being able to see out of them and everything. I've heard that you can go blind from getting pressed glitter in your eye. I don't know. But just that they're not eye safe, so it just kind of worries me a little bit. So I'm passing this along. It's a good formula. You can't get it anymore, but I know that Brown Eyed Girl Charisse wanted me. I asked if, when I got the friend mail, if there were palettes that people wanted to see me do a look with, and she mentioned this palette. So I won't be doing that, unfortunately, but there were a couple other palettes that she mentioned, and other people mentioned that I will be doing looks with. I haven't forgotten about that. So anyway, I'm passing this along, but you can't get it anymore anyway, and if you didn't get it, I don't feel like you're really missing out. Coming in at number 3 is the Undies. I always want to say Odin's Eye, but it's Undies Verdandi palette. Hope I'm saying that right, but I think it's the Verdandi palette. But this was also given to me by Misty, and I really enjoyed. I only have done one look with this palette, and I did really enjoy it. I really like the shimmer formula. I actually used both shimmers and then these 2 shades. This shade is broken because I dropped it, and whenever I have tile flooring, so if I drop a palette, there's going to be a casualty. If you're very familiar with my videos and stuff, you would probably know that I'm somewhat of a klutz, especially if you saw my entire eyeshadow palette ranking video. In that video, my Love palette broke, and like 3 shades shattered and fell on the tile, and I had to Franken shades to make it work. And anyway, luckily this just like a chunk fell out, so it's fine. But back to the performance. So this is a really good performing palette. The only reason it's here is because it's very limited in what you can do with it, but I mean, I felt like I had an easy time with blending everything, and I do really like these the shimmers. I should mention that I use a glitter glue for literally every shimmer that I use. So, I don't really know how these work without a glitter glue, but with a glitter glue, they look really pretty. So, yeah, so that's coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is my Colourpop Mandalorian palette. I think I did this shade throughout the crease, and then this in the outer corner, and a combination of these 2 shades on the lid. And I really like the way it turned out. I felt like it was pretty fall appropriate, kind of grungy, so I really did like the way this came out. I think this is a good fall and winter palette. Obviously, you can wear whatever colors at any time of year. I just like wearing makeup seasonally, but that's just my own preference. But the formula is pretty good. There is a bit of kick up, like these shades are really powdery, but I don't really have too many negatives to say about this palette. I'm glad I got it. I did mostly get it for the packaging. If you didn't know, if you're new, I collect palettes mostly for the packaging. I plan to keep them past their expiration date just to have them for collector's reasons, and I also display them. So that's why I got this palette, but I do also enjoy the color story. I mean, at number 2, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. This was another one that was sent to me by Misty. And this is a really fun palette. I think it's very summery in my opinion. I think the formula is really good on this. It's easy to use. I think it is a bit powdery. Like with every ABH palette I've tried, it's just as powdery. And then it also, everything performs beautifully. I love the ABH formula. I have only tried at this point 4 palettes from ABH, and I've really enjoyed all of them. I haven't tried Subculture, which I've heard isn't their best formula, and I haven't tried any of like the Norvina palettes, that line of palettes. But this formula, the formula on this I think is pretty good. I used these 2 shades and this one up here, and I didn't have any issues with the performance of anything. So it's not, I think out of the ABH palettes I have, this is my least favorite because you have to think because it's not as easy to create a look with this palette just because of how there's just not a lot of transition shades and it's just very colorful. You just have to think a little bit more and be more creative with this palette. Or you can use it, I think it would be a really good companion palette as well. But yeah, so it's coming in at number 2. And coming in at number 1 is the Colourpop Hocus Pocus 2 palette. Or I guess it's All Hallows Eve palette. Sorry, I keep wanting to call it Hocus Pocus 2. But I did a reel with this on Instagram. It's very reflective, so sorry about that. But I used this one, this shade, and this shade, and it is a bit powdery. The formula is a bit powdery, but it's also very easy to use. Like this shade, granted I haven't used like these other shades down here, and I have this in my Shop My Stash for November, so or October, so I'll see more how these shades perform. But the shades that I used really performed well, and I like the color story of this palette. I think it is pretty user-friendly. It's colorful, but it's user-friendly because you have this transition, like this more transition shades to work with the colorful shades. So for me personally, it's just easier to use because I like transition shades. I like neutrals in colorful palettes so that I can, you know, use a transition shade. Even if I use a colorful shade in the crease, I still like to have neutral leaning transition shades, something lighter, so that it can blend easier and it just looks better in my personal opinion. That's just how I do my makeup personally. I find this easier than the Riviera palette. But I think the shimmer, I use the shimmer, and to me the shimmer isn't as good as the ABH palette, the Riviera. It's good, but it's not like an amazing shimmer formula. I really like this shade. It's kind of like a topper shade, and I used it as a topper shade on top of this green shadow. But I think it adds a lot to this palette because you can use it as a topper shade on any of the shimmer shades and make them more impactful. You could also use them on mattes, obviously. I'm really excited to use this palette more this month. So far, I really like it. It is my favorite of all the Hocus Pocus palettes that Colourpop has done. But I do think at this point they should probably stop with the Hocus Pocus and move on to something else, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, I'm glad I have it, and it is my favorite of the Hocus Pocus. And so it's coming in at number 1 for all the palettes that I used in September. So that is a recap of all of the palettes that I used in September. I do plan to do this monthly as long as I'm able to, like I mentioned in my Shop My Stash video. I may not be able to do it every month. I don't know what's gonna happen I have issues with my wrist. I don't know if I'm gonna have to have surgery or not. So if I have surgery, I probably will be taking a break from YouTube and makeup and everything. But essentially my plan is to do this every month. And like I said, I will have both Caitlin House and Chic Geek linked below. You should definitely check out their channels. They do a lot of fun videos, a lot of palette content, themed videos. So if you like eyeshadow palette content, I would highly recommend checking out both of their channels. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate everyone who comments and everyone who commented on my last video about doing this video, regardless of the fact that I've only used these palettes once each. So yeah, thank you so much. And let me know down below what your favorite palette was from the month of September. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you in the next video.